Thank you so much for joining me, Véronique Puybaret. You are the director and producer of Mysteries of Paris, and I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to show this TV series across the US because it's not available in the US.
No.
So could you present yourself and present Mysteries of Paris?
Yes, thank you for inviting me. I am Véronique Puybaret. I studied cinema and literature at university. Then I started to work on in the movie making like a fixer. But luckily I could do some more studies at La Fémis. It was a formation for script writing. And after I wrote a long feature called The Song of Innocence, La Ravisseuse in French, which was directed by Antoine Santana. Then I wrote and direct a documentary about my family. And then 15 years ago almost, I opened my own company and I produced around 10 documentaries. Voilà. And then I discovered the Mysteries of Paris.
Yeah, and so what is the Mysteries of Paris? Can you just say a few words?
Well, just I want to add that I have been always, I'm sorry, I have always had a foot in documentary and a foot in fiction and a foot in production and a foot in script writing. So I read The Mysteries of Paris more than 10 years ago. It's a long project. I really loved the book. I was astonishing by the strength and the fantasy of the book. I planned the project with Matthieu Dubois, who is a great graphist, and he was in charge of the adaptation of the engravings, and I was in charge of the adaptation of the text. After we need nearly 8 years to find, to raise the money to do the series.
To produce, yeah.
To produce it. So luckily I found the great co-producer Matthieu Rollin, who runs Amopic Studio in Strasbourg, and who was the best co-producer I could find. Little by little, during all these years, it became natural that I direct the series, even if I've never made animation before. Voilà.
Okay, that's interesting. So maybe we can start with the idea of adaptation of Eugène Sue. Why is this one and why is this book in particular, and how the project was born? Did you fall in love with this book?
So yes, I fall in love with this book that I read a long time ago. The Mysteries of Paris is a 19th century book written by Eugène Sue between exactly 1842, June 1842 till October 1843. It was published in the newspaper, in the press, like a lot of book born like that. Balzac used to work for the press first, and many books of this period were published first in the press. It was a huge, enormous success in the 19th century, and it has been fully illustrated by very good engraving. So I had the opportunity, when I read the book the first time, it was in an old edition, fully illustrated, and the idea came very quickly to do an animation series
Project, yeah.
with these engravings. And with Matthieu Dubois, we planned to adapt these engravings, and I wanted to adapt the text very quickly in a 40 episode of 3 minutes duration for internet. We thought this book, which has been very well known during 150 years and was a little bit forgotten for 40 years now, we feel that it could be a way to modernize and make this book more
No, by
popular.
a wider public,
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, how and why did you select some stories? Because it's a book which have so many characters through 400 episodes. So how did you select some of them?
Okay, so as the book had an enormous success, Eugène Sue add many small stories into the main story. So it was not difficult with Lucille Prin, who is my co-writer. It was not very difficult to eliminate small stories into the main one. And well, we choose this book because it is a masterpiece of Eugène Sue, who died very quickly. He died at 53, and also because this book is very, very interesting in it is very anchored in his time and in its time and in Paris, which almost disappear after Prefet Osman destruction. So the book is, the story is great, but the book has many interest in a documentary interest, very interesting to read this book because it's very anchored. Every area, every road is described and things like that. So,
Yeah.
voilà. Did I
And
answer the question? No.
yeah.
You asked me
How
how
did you select some characters?
as we had quite a long duration, because 40 episodes of 3 minutes makes 2 hours of film, we could keep all the main characters, and we keep also all these all the peripéties that we found modern and funny and but we keep the main story. It is an adaptation quite faithful. And, it was not a difficult job to adapt that
And
because
it's very well done. Yeah.
it was quite easy to eliminate sort of small stories into the big stories because Eugène had many as the success was enormous, the newspaper asked for more episodes. So some episodes were some stories, extra stories that we shortened.
And one of the strengths of the program is that you have a cliffhanger at the end of each episode. For example, I couldn't stop watching episode after episode because it's very well written, and the way it's edited catches your attention. It's quite addictive. So my question, I guess, is why did you choose this short format and not a classical series?
Well, as I am the producer also of this story, I choose very quickly this quite strange format. I was free to do that because I think it is the best format to keep all these cliffhangers, which were that were in the book. Eugène Sue is really the father of cliffhangers, so it was funny to do that in a short. We want to try to be very close to the interest of the book, and when you read it, it is the same thing. You want to read the same the next
page after page,
each time. Voilà.
Yeah. And something is interesting is that you brought a new character, the narrator. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, yes, you're right. I had the narrator. There was no narrator in the book. On the same idea, it became very quickly evident that we need this guy for different reasons. Sometimes he resume, he shorten, the narrator shorten some stories. Secondly, sometimes we need him to, because sometimes it was difficult to animate, let's say, some fights and things like that. So it was a sort of economical way of doing, because we didn't have much money for this adaptation, for this series. And also, it was a way to give my own opinion about the book, and I could do some. I did some funny observation and things like that about the book, and mostly the last reason was with the narrator we have been able to give quite a lot of documentary information about Paris, about the period, and as this documentary aspect was very important for us, I have been I'm during in the script I had quite a lot of information about the previous walls of Paris and things about all the streets that disappear. And
yeah, because it's very well documented as well and very pedagogic, you know.
Yeah,
so,
I wanted to do a pedagogical but funny series. I wanted to that this series. Sorry, I wanted to do this series for young people, to show them that this sort of literature is not boring.
Yeah, it's not dead.
It's not dead. It's not boring. It can be fun.
Very funny.
It is also the ancestor of new series that we can see nowadays.
Yeah, that's right. And regarding the technique, you use old engravings, original, I think, engravings. So can you tell us a little bit more about this technique, because it's not very common?
Yes, it was the main idea of this project. The engravings of the book were very beautiful, very well done, long one, large ones, and with Matthieu Dubois, we use almost all the engravings of the book. But also we did a lot of during 4 or 5 years. I have been searching in auction market and places like that. I was looking for engravings of Paris. We bought the big map also at the BNF, Bibliothèque Nationale de France. We bought many engravings because the book had quite a lot of engravings, but few external views of Paris. So we bought other engravings, and we bought a lot of documentation and things like that. So it was a good fun to do that.
Yeah, I can imagine. So yeah, I have to say that this series is very addictive. It's very modern, despite the fact it's from an old book. And I don't want to spoil, but you bring modernity by adding, for example, anachronistic items. For example, I think it's episode 7, you have a famous American actor that appears in the show. So it's very funny to see that in 19th century Paris. And also the way it's narrated is very modern. So I have to say, well done for that and congratulations, because it's very good. So I was wondering, are you working on another project like that? Or maybe will you adapt the mysteries of the people or something like that?
No, just I wanted to add about the technical things.
Yeah.
Way of doing. It is a technical called 2D cutout, and we scan in very high resolution all the engravings, and after all the animation which have been done, which in 2 studios, Amopic Studio and Miu Studios, with 7 very great animators. It is done with After Effects software, and then there was the compositing was done with Da Vinci in Amopic Studio in Strasbourg, and there was also we recorded the actors' voices. During 15 days. So it was around 8 or 9 months of working, which is quite quick, but we didn't have much money to work more.
How much was the budget?
Not very high, 400,000 euros.
Okay, yeah. But with a small budget, you have done something very spectacular, so congrats.
Well, in fact, as it was a small budget with a small TV co-producers, we had a lot of freedom to do that.
So yeah, that's great.
Why I could express my own fantasy about this book, about this project. Voilà.
Yeah.
About the next project, well, the main project at the beginning had also a documentary project with 40 what we call the Mysteries of Paris enriched. So I plan to do this. It will be very short documentaries about Paris, historical, geographical, artistic interest that we found in the book. So this is a project that I will do by myself at home. And after, well, the next project will be, or I don't know yet if it will be a documentary or fiction, but I want to talk next time about sex, about the first time in sex, what we call defloration. Defloration, you say that in English?
Lose your virginity, yeah.
And
okay.
So nothing to deal, except that.
So you'll come back in FIAF to explain this project and to show it.
In Eugène Sue episode, he talks about that, the fair of the woman at this period, and I want to do something historical with a historical part because we didn't remember about that, how it was for women at this period.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So maybe it will be animation, because it could fit this sort of project. Voilà.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Véronique. It was very interesting to have your feedback on the program. So just as a reminder, this program is not available in the US, so please enjoy the exclusivity that we propose at FIAF, and watch it because it's very French, very Parisian, and very dramatic. So you won't regret it. Merci et au revoir.